Hey, what's going on, everyone? It's Walt here from Down the Block Sports, and today I want to talk about the NBA playoffs in Game 7 between the Dallas Mavericks and Phoenix Suns. The Mavs upset the Suns, killed the Suns in that Game 7 matchup, 123-90, setting up a Western Conference Finals between the Golden State Warriors and Dallas Mavericks. Joining me to recap that blowout and preview the Western Conference Finals is Kyle Russo from Review and Preview Sports. Kyle, what's going on, man? Welcome back.
Nothing much, man. Thank you for having me. And what a blowout it was. You know, a lot of words to describe last night's game, Game 7. Embarrassment, abysmal, disgrace, whatever you want to call it. It was a bad game.
Yeah, I mean, Phoenix didn't show up at all.
No.
I mean, their lead scorer was Cam Johnson with 12 points, Chris Paul 10 with 4 assists, Devin Booker 11, 0 made 3-point shots, DeAndre Ayton 5 points, 4 rebounds, 0 block shots, Bridges and Crowder, 6 and 5 points respectively. Their bench, I mean,
it's nothing to talk about. It's really nothing to talk about.
No one showed up. No one showed up. When I looked at that video during the game, and they would show the Suns fans in the crowd who were just, and just looked like they didn't want to be there. When you're seeing throughout the fourth quarter, fans getting up and leaving who probably spent hundreds of dollars to see their team potentially go to the Western Conference Finals. I mean, give a hell of a lot of credit to this Dallas Mavericks team because they were the underdog. They went on the road. And their three of their top, with a top player, Doncic and Brunson, and then Dinwiddie, who balled out for 30 points, showed up and shut down the top seed in the Western Conference.
It was abysmal. It was abysmal. And it was over in the first quarter, too. I think they went up by like 10 points or something like that. It was 27-17. And then
I almost turned it off at halftime.
And then they come out in the second quarter, and they got the coach of the year, back-to-back coach of the year, and I've kind of fed into the Monty Williams hype, that he could lead a pack. He's a good coach. So I thought he'd be able to rally the team maybe in the second quarter. No, come out flat in the second quarter, get outscored 30-10. You're at halftime, 57-27, down by 30, which I think is like the most ever at a halftime in a Game 7 in NBA history. And not only that, but this was the if it wasn't going bad enough, Alec, for the Suns or the Phoenix Suns fans just in general, let alone the team, when you see a stat line, because I was watching TNT afterwards because I needed to see the reaction of Charles Barkley because, of course, that was his pick. The alma mater, in a sense, the Phoenix Suns, his old team. That's who he was rooting for. They put up a stat. The whole Suns team had 27 points in the first half. Luka Doncic had 27 points in the first half with 9 rebounds. The dude almost had a double-double in the first half with almost 30 against a team who put up 27 points in an entire 2-quarter game. It's a halftime, and it's just you're saying to yourself, what are they doing? Like it wasn't even just the shooting; it was the defense too, which is nobody's even talking about it, which is like mind-boggling. Obviously, because of how they played offensively, the Suns so bad. But you watch, like I saw a video today, and I watched and I took note of it as well. The amount of times for a coach with 2 tremendous accolades in back-to-back years, going to the NBA championship last year, what reason? I need to understand. There were 3 players last night for the Mavericks because we talk about the Mavericks showing up. Only 3 of them showed up. It was Brunson, it was Dinwiddie, and it was obviously Luka Doncic. Mm-hmm. Why in the hell, as a head coach, knowing those guys are not just beating you but killing you, why are you playing ISO on them? I'm watching DeAndre Ayton come up to the top of the key guarding Luka Doncic in an ISO. We're watching the infamous shot, which is going to be, in the history books, Cam Johnson getting absolutely sauced by Luka Doncic, pulling back for a step-back three-pointer, and then mean mugging the camera, looking right at it. I'm watching Spencer Dinwiddie being ISO'd by a Jay Crowder. You have 3 guys, 3 responsibilities, and it's not even the primary reason was too. This is that the ball handler. It was only 3 guys. Why are you not double teaming those guys? They chose to play iso ball all night long, and they refused to adapt to the change. Meanwhile, you look on the other side of things, Alec. What were the Dallas Mavericks doing? You know how many times you would see 3 people on a Devin Booker? That's why he shot the crap out of the ball so badly. That's why he was getting trapped, had to pass out, turn the ball over a bunch of times. Because once they stopped Devin Booker, who was going to give you points? Chris Paul hasn't been a shooter in this series. Mikal Bridges is he'll give you like 13, 14 points. Cam Johnson off the bench, 12 points, whatever you want to call it. Jay Crowder came out firing in the first couple games of this series, laid off the last 3-4 games. Who's going to give you points if it's not Devin Booker? Nobody.
Yeah.
Three-man set, that's it.
Yeah. You said it best. I mean, the Mavericks outcoached them. Their star players outperformed. Defensively, they played better. Offensively, they played better. I mean, 27 points in one half is embarrassing. I mean, that's a quarter average.
Dude, I remember high school games or youth basketball games where teams would put up more points in the first half. Yeah. I don't think I've ever you tell me this. You've been watching basketball a lot longer than I have. Have you ever seen 27 points before? Forget about a playoff games. I don't think that's ever happened. But just a regular season games where a team has only put up 27 points in a whole half.
I mean, sometimes you see a team get into the 30s that just struggles. They're a bad team. They're an off night. But getting over 100 points consistently is normal in this league.
Yeah, especially in today's day and age where you get to the free throw line all the time. And that's where your bread is buttered, right? You're making easy points. You're making easy shots. They couldn't even get to the free throw line. Not that it mattered, right? Because the game, exactly. we both come to the consensus of the game, the way that they were playing, at least how they looked. If they weren't rallying out in that second quarter, the game was over after the first quarter, 27-17. But D-Book was not making shots. DeAndre Ayton was, and I'll tell you this because
17 minutes.
I've been down on him a lot, and this was part of the reason why, is because he doesn't have the athleticism. He's a traditional big man. If Chris Paul isn't feeding him the ball efficiently, which you saw him kind of lay off a little bit, Chris Paul, because Chris Paul, you'll look at his point-wise, not that he's been a terrific point-per-game scorer this season. I think he's averaging around 14 points per game, 14 and a half points per game. His money was made in the assist category, where he was averaging 11 assists per game this season. A lot of those came from passes out to DeAndre Ayton, feeding him the ball in the paint and just dominating. Hey, big man, go shoot the ball with inside 2 feet. Go dunk this basketball. Go get a nice tip and layup. The minute that stopped happening, DeAndre Ayton, he was completely eliminated in sort of any sort of contention or threat whatsoever. And this is against a team, Alec, too, who doesn't even have a big man. Like, if Dwight Powell is your big man, if you're DeAndre Ayton won $100 million and the Suns aren't given to you and you're scratching your head saying, oh, I could get it elsewhere. It's like, bro, this team doesn't even have a big man and you're not scoring. You're getting into foul trouble. You're not scoring. You're not even rebounding either. It's like, what's going on? What's happening?
Yeah. Now, that was an interesting storyline to watch. I mean, the fact that Ayton only played 17 minutes and was really a non-factor in the biggest game of the entire season is they're going into the offseason after that performance. So I don't really want to talk too much more about the Suns. We have a huge matchup ahead between the Mavericks and the Warriors. I mean, Luka Doncic versus Steph Curry, sign me
up. Love it. Absolutely love it. I mean, it couldn't, for me, I had the Warriors making it this far. I think I might have been on an episode earlier where a couple months ago where I said Warriors were my pick to represent the Western Conference. But if you told me that Luka Doncic would basically single-handedly lead this Mavericks team to the Western Conference Finals, I would say you're crazy. And it's not even because I doubted how talented he was, because I never did for a second. I think ultimately, and I'll make this statement right here, is that I think he might be the most talented basketball player in the entire NBA. Like, I think there's a legitimate chance that he is. The only thing holding him back, Alec, from me saying that they might be the championship favorites, not just the favorites in the Western Conference Finals, is that I don't know if you could bottle up the performances of Jalen Brunson and bottle up the performances of Spencer Dinwiddie. And when you saw Dorian Finney-Smith make 7 or 8 3-pointers in that one game where they beat him in Dallas, like, those are the reasons why I don't think those performances can be recreated. What Luka just did, dude does that nightly. The Warriors have nobody to put on him. Yeah. Because even you're not going to put Draymond Green. I would assume you're not going to put Draymond on him. You're probably not putting Klay. You're probably not putting Steph on him. You're not going to put Kevon Looney on him. But Wiggins doesn't have the weight that Luka has. Luka will push him around. That's what I'm saying.
I mean, he's also not a good defensive player. His defense is better, but he's not a defensive lockdown guy.
Well, that too. That being my point is that Luka's going to have his way with anybody, just like he did in the Suns series, which I thought was a better matchup for the Suns. Because again, if you isolated Luka and you made him shoot the basketball and you forced him into bad situations, it would work in their favor. They didn't double team him, let him play iso ball, and not only did they let him play iso ball, but you decided that putting DeAndre Ayton on him was a good decision. Like I don't get that. That'll be what they look at in Game 7 when they're watching the recap tape. Be like, bro, what are we doing? What are we doing? But you're looking at him in this Warriors series. He's gonna get his every single night, right? We know that. I saw glimpses of the Spencer Dinwiddie from the pre-Kyrie, pre-Kevin Durant era in Brooklyn, where you allow him to play his version of basketball, where you allow him and you trust him with the basketball to get his own shot, to make his own shot, and to take numerous amounts of shots, and that's what he'll do. Jalen Brunson just earned himself a bag. He's going to get a bag somewhere. I don't know if it's going to be with the Mavericks, but he just earned himself a bag. He has developed as a phenomenal piece for the Dallas Mavericks, who was a later first-round pick just a couple years back out of Villanova, and has panned out tremendously for him because we've been talking about for the last couple of years, really since I don't even know, maybe like 20 games into Luka's career in the NBA. We've been saying we need to get this guy a second piece because this guy could take us somewhere, right? They experimented with a Tim Hardaway Jr. He's not even playing right now. He's hurt. They tried Kristaps Porzingis for a nice little year, whatever it was. They traded him away, and they got a Dinwiddie in that trade. They got a Bertans in that trade who's had some decent performances with a Kleber off the bench. But I don't know if you could re-encapsulate these performances that we've seen that brought them to this point against the Warriors. Not because I think that they will compete against them defensively, because they'll allow you to score on them. They will. And they'll get into foul trouble too, I think so, because we saw that a lot in the previous series with the Golden State Warriors and the Memphis Grizzlies. You want to talk about a series that shouldn't have gone as long as it did? You were missing Ja Morant. You were still losing games. In fact, they were down at one point in that game by 50 points somehow. So, but the problem is that we know the Warriors. They're like, I like to use this expression. It's like a light switch because their offensive firepower, it's literally a flick of a switch. That's it. That's how quickly it is. It's blink of an eye. The minute they turn it on, it's over. You saw Klay do that to close out Game 6. You saw it. They were able to, he just did it in the fourth quarter. It was over. It was over. But that's the reason why I think that the Warriors obviously have the edge, obviously championship pedigree. But I'll tell you this, Luka's going to make it a dogfight for sure.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at these two teams from a matchup standpoint, like their win now lineups, I mean, when you look at the Warriors, they play 3 guards.
Yeah.
What do the Mavericks do? Play 3 guards.
Yeah.
Because Dinwiddie's coming off the bench.
Yeah.
When you look at, they're not the best in the paint, but obviously Looney gets rebounds. The huge X factor here is Draymond, because I don't think Finney-Smith's nearly as good as him.
No, not at all.
But, I think from a matchup standpoint, these two teams kind of play similar. They pass the ball well. They play good team defense. They shoot a lot of threes. I mean, what changed after that trade between the Mavericks and the Wizards? Their ball movement improved and their three-point shooting improved. And they have been one of the best teams in the Western Conference and now one of the finalists here in the West ever since it happened. Now, Kyle, if the Mavericks are going to squeeze this one out, now, yes, they are the clear underdog. They're playing a championship team, and a majority of the games will be played in Golden State. But if the Mavericks are to win this series, who outside of Luka, I mean, the obvious picks, do you think needs to step up and have a massive series?
I think you're going to have to see some great rebounding performances from some of the bigger guys like Dwight Powell. I think that, again, you're not going to get a lot of points from Dorian Finney-Smith, but you're going to have to see some rebounding competing because I think that they are going to – because we know there are teams that are both going to make their shots, right? But if you could box out a Looney and get Draymond Green into foul trouble, get him out of the game, the Warriors have nobody there in the paint to succeed there. And running a full guard lineup the way that they do, they're not going to be able to rebound the way that they are now, meaning that they're not going to be able to guarantee themselves second chance points. And I think that the Mavericks will be able to succeed in that form as well, because even though they run a guard lineup, like Luka's not a small guy. Like Jalen Brunson isn't the smallest guy. Spencer Dinwiddie is a smaller guy, but the rest of their lineup is rather tall, to be quite frank. So if they can succeed in that avenue in terms of the second chance department, that's huge. I know you talked about trying to go away from the obvious choices because outside of Luka, the obvious are the two guys that we just saw have phenomenal performances, right? And Spencer Dinwiddie and Jalen Brunson. I think that you have to start to see some bench production out of this team because, again, it's been kind of a lackluster throughout the entirety of this series where it has not been necessarily present at all, which again, against the Phoenix Suns, who, underperformed tremendously, it was able to work when Luka dropped 35 and Dinwiddie had 30 and Jalen Brunson had 24. But I think you're going to start to see and need to see stuff out of guys like Kleber, right? Because he played 21 minutes against the Phoenix Suns. He had 3 points in that game. He's a decent shooter. You need to have more points. Bertans played 13 minutes, finished off with 0 points. He took 3 shots, went 0 for 3 from the three-point line. Those shots need to go down against the Warriors because you're looking at those two guys. Those two guys have nobody to defend them. Nobody on the Warriors right now is defending those guys on the perimeter, unless you have Draymond out there. But then that works in the Mavs' favor because you're looking at any of the point guards driving the court, any of the guards driving for the Mavs. Nobody's going to be there in the middle to meet them. You're going to win every single time on Kevon Looney. So you need some of those bigger guys to start hitting their shots from beyond the perimeter. I think that's really a key for me.
Yeah, I mean, my X factor here is Bullock. And the reason for that is, I was thinking either him or Bertans. Yeah. But if Bertans isn't knocking down threes, he has no impact on the game.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Bullock at least hustles.
He plays good defense. Good defense.
He's a versatile guy. They're going to have to switch like crazy because they're so good behind the perimeter, the Warriors. He eats up a lot of minutes per night. He has games where he's knocked down 3 or 4 threes. I don't think that's something you can get from him on a nightly basis. But, if he can be an energy guy and allow those 3 guards to flourish, which obviously is much easier said than done going up against another. Curry, Poole, and Thompson is certainly no joke. And then obviously Wiggins, we've talked about Draymond Green. They got some dudes over there in Golden State. But, you want Bullock to hustle. You want Bullock to make smart plays, not shoot too many shots, but be a quality presence for the Mavericks in this extremely tough series. So, Kyle, before we go, winner, game total, who's going to the finals in the West?
I love Luka, man, but it's got to be the Golden State Warriors for me. It's got to be the Golden State Warriors for me. And they could either go really south really quickly, or it can I think it has a max of 6 games. So I'll say 6 games. I want an entertaining series, but I'll say 6 games in the Warriors' favor. But again, Mavericks, if you're the Mavericks right now, you got to really look for that second piece for Luka Doncic. You got to encapsulate what he's been able to do and give him that second star, because as good as Jalen Brunson is, as good as Dinwiddie's been, I don't think they're upper echelon of a secondary or maybe even a tertiary piece. Maybe Brunson is, but not Dinwiddie. But I have the Golden State Warriors in 6.
I have the Warriors in 6 as well. I'm extremely impressed with what the Mavericks have done.
Yeah.
Beating a team like the Phoenix Suns, who even though they were the 1 seed, I still think the better playoff team was the Warriors due to sheer experience. I think the coaching is better on the Warriors side because Steve Kerr is one of the best in all of the NBA. But, the Mavericks' next step, in my opinion, for this season was getting to this game. I still don't think in a matchup against the Warriors that they have the step to take it again to beat a team that has this much experience. That win in Game 7 was massive for Luka Doncic's career because he has not made it this far.
Yeah.
But he's going up against a really difficult matchup and a team that matches up. Even though I said the Mavericks match up well, the same is obviously said on the other side.
Yep.
And Steph Curry's one of the best in the game. We saw Klay Thompson finish a game. I expect him to finish a few games here in this series. But I don't expect this to go as long as what I think could happen in the East. But I still, with how talented Luka Doncic is, he definitely is going to steal a game or 2 here in this series. So, Kyle, before we finish this show, how can our listeners follow you on social media and keep in touch with Review and Preview Sports?
So on Instagram at Kyle Russo 612. Make sure to go give me a follow if you like what I've said. And then, as Alec alluded to, on Review and Preview Sports, Review and Preview, the main show on the Review and Preview Network, every Wednesday night from 7 to 9 p.m. Not going to be on the show, unfortunately, this week due to a lot of hecticness, graduating this week. So have a lot of schoolwork to do, catch up on. But we'll be back. Thank you, my man. But we'll be back next week talking all things sports, at least myself. Tom and the rest of the gang will be on this Wednesday, so make sure to go give a listen. And Review and Preview is obviously the main show on the Review and Preview Network, but as I just alluded to, we are a network at a multitude of shows, so make sure to go give a like and listen and follow as well throughout the entirety of the week. Got a bunch of content coming out from a bunch of great people, so make sure to go give a listen and tune in.
Awesome. Well, that's going to be it for this episode of the Alec Walt Show. I'm Alec Walt alongside Kyle Russo. What do you think of the Western Conference Finals between the Warriors and the Mavericks? Feel free to give me your thoughts in the comment section below. Also, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more of my exclusive content. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in, and we will see you very soon.